people have a conception of a thing called a state. So something I've written a lot about is the unicorn conception of the state. So imagine that I have a mass transit proposal, and what we'll have is these large carts that are pulled by unicorns. And unicorns are great for mass transit because they eat rainbows, they're very strong, and their flatulence smells like fresh strawberries. So there's no emissions problem.
I did not know that part.
Well, there's no emissions problem. That's really great. Now you could object, well, I think there's a problem with this actually because unicorns don't really exist. Close your eyes. You see one.
Yeah.
So do I. They totally exist in the sense that I can imagine them. That's how people think of the state. When I say, look, the state is messing up. Well, right, because we have bad people. All we need to do is get the right people, because I can imagine a state that's doing these things. It's very difficult to fight that. So the argument that I try to make, having given that caveat, that it's hard to fight unicorns, because that's what people want, is something they can imagine, not something that exists. But the argument that I actually try to make is that every flaw in consumers, and there are many, is worse in voters. So you think consumers are too stupid to be able to choose what size Coke to buy or which car to buy. Voters have all those problems and more. So my colleague, Dan Ariely at Duke, who writes about rationality and consumer problems and wants the state to intervene, there's no such thing as the state. There's just people. If we're going to have voters choose what these experts are going to make people do, it'll be even worse than the market.
Right. So it's like, so basically we are the flaw in the system in a really perverse way.
Which means that the best system is one that recognizes that and doesn't try to do too much. Because if we give voters enough power, they'll do what they did in the South and afflict minorities. They'll say no same-sex marriage. There's no reason to think that if you take one person who's too stupid to make his own choices at the grocery store and put them together into an angry mob, they can then choose a good president or a good Food and Drug Administration.